Hi, YouTube. It's your old friend Lukey. I have been really wanting to make something, and I'm just sort of desperate, like, just make something and do it. And I've tried like some Haskell tutorials, and it's just not flowing. And then I have to do the dishes, and so I have this idea. I'm going to do the dishes, and maybe I'm going to talk, and maybe I'm not. It's going to be great fun, and you can watch. And maybe you can do something that you need to do too, like the dishes or cleanup or whatever it is, just because it's nice to be healthy and feel good about our lives and not live in a pigsty. So, yeah, come join me. How are you doing anyway? How's it been doing? That's all right. Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds like it could be kind of tough. I don't know. I'm not sure I have experience with that one. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Oh, me? Okay. Yeah, I've been sort of up and down. Been a little like alternately pretty happy and inspired and kind of depressed, and it just feels kind of like bipolar. And like sometimes smoke weed and it feels shitty, and sometimes I'm on top of shit and it feels good. Sometimes I smoke weed and it feels good, and sometimes, well, no, it's never the case that I'm on top of shit and feel bad. It always feels good. Maybe feel tired. It's kind of good to be tired though. I went to a jam last night at the Circle Bar here in New Orleans. Jazz jam. Man, I love the jams here. I mean, I don't know. Some of the people a little hard to get along with. But yeah, that's probably just like a comfort thing. Like I'm new, and like who is this guy? Is he gonna judge me? Is he gonna hate me? And honestly, that's what I'm thinking about them too. And so that's probably not a very fun interaction. But musicianship is really excellent. Like people just going. I've never been to open jams like this where people are any fucking good at all. And it's everywhere, every jam. I mean, with varied results, but even the worst of them have pretty decent musicians playing at these jams, and that's it's sort of intimidating and inspiring simultaneously. Anyway, I went to the jam last night, and they played Nika's Dream. It's a jazz tune. Which happens to be a tune that I practice quite a lot. And there are like 300 standards or something like that, and I know 15 to 20. And so the jams are often like, oh, you guys are going to play that? Okay, I'll go sit over here for a second while you play that. But that one, they started playing that one, and I just jumped. Holy shit! Damn it! Fuck! Shit, fuck, shit, fuck, cunt, fuck, shit. Oh my god! It's horrible. That's the first time that's happened. I knew it was going to happen eventually. Okay, let's fucking clean up. Fucking gotta rinse everything out. Another fucking dirty stink. Alright. Anyway, as I was saying, these jazz jams, yeah, they're really good. Oh yeah, I was playing Nika's Dream. And a code mentor request. I'm busy. Playing Nika's Dream. And so I jumped on the keys. No one was on the keys, thankfully. And there's this guy there. He runs the jam. I find him very intimidating and sort of like stone-faced, and it feels like he just thinks I'm a fucking nuisance and have no manners, which may be true. But I don't know. I just feel like he's like, this guy is not a jazz guy. And we're jazz musicians and we're playing jazz. And if you didn't grow up with jazz and you don't know all the tunes, you suck. I feel like that's kind of his attitude. I might be totally full of shit and he could be really nice. Maybe he's just afraid. Maybe I'm so much better than him that he's like, oh my God, who's this guy? Yeah, I doubt that one. But yeah, he's kind of... Anyway, he wasn't on the keys, thankfully. He plays keys. And so when he's on the keys, I sort of feel like I can't go and ask him or talk to him or anything because he hates me. That's not fucking clean. I got all over it. Did I say that clean? Yeah, anyway, they're playing Naked Dream. No one's on the keys. I fucking jumped on it. Killed it. Yeah! Felt competent. We played well. We sounded pretty good. My solo is a little discombobulated, I guess that's just jazz solos, isn't it? I think it's possible to do really good jazz solos. I've heard them, and you find the thread and you follow it and you build it, and I was still a little nervous, so I was just like, here's a scale and arpeggio scale, But anyway, I think we sounded pretty good. We were tight, and we'd never played before together. And so I felt good about that. Finally, I felt like I deserved to be there. A little bit, at least. So it was great. And then after that, I was filled with confidence, and I went over and talked to a cute girl who it didn't seem like was very interested in me. But fuck it, I talked to her. That's, that's not always easy for me. And made a connection. A guy invited me to a new jam session that he had just started on Thursdays, which I can't go to because of another band practice. It's too bad. But yeah, it's great. So that was a really fun night. And I was feeling happy. Oh yeah. Speaking of feeling happy, I've been playing with NLP anchors. I don't know if you know what that is. That's like what you can do. It's a hypnosis technique. You can do it on yourself, and it means when you feel something intensely, just touch somewhere on your body that you want to associate with that feeling, and then later, if you sort of practice this, you can bring that feeling back just by doing that. So and it has to be pretty intense. Feeling, and like the sooner you do it, when you realize that feeling is coming on, the better. But I thought, because I'm an actor, I thought it would be helpful to just start associating different parts of my body with different emotions, so that I could, when a character needs to feel something, I could just pop, bring that feeling up. And I do it mnemonically. And so I have HIP for happiness, which I used last night. And also, after it went well, I anchored it again. I have pushing on my nose for relaxation. I got in the bath and anchored my nose. I also did a bunch of yoga and anchored my nose. Each time I did a big relaxing stretch. That one works really well. It's nice. And then my side is sadness. And I can feel it a little bit. I don't want to go all out, but it's like I felt it. You might be able to perceive it. And so that's fun. And so I used that last night. I was feeling insecure, and I don't have one for insecure. Because why would you want to bring that up? I guess that one's easy enough for me to bring up. I feel insecure plenty. I know how to do that one. I'm sort of over it. Yeah. So I used that, and it was great. When I was feeling insecure, and I would just like sort of anchor happy, like, oh yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit. Don't sweat it. Just do whatever. And if people don't like it, fuck them. They like you can do whatever you want, and other people can respond in the way they do it, and what they think is appropriate or correct way to behave is just what they think, and like I think a different thing, and if I want to do something that they don't like, that doesn't make them like me, that's just a difference in our opinions about what's right. And it doesn't, because I sort of have had the tendency to be like, oh, they're correct. And if they don't like me, I've done something wrong. And then I would contrapose that with like this fighting tendency where like, well, I'm going to fucking do what they don't like just because they don't like it. Fuck them. And it was all because I gave them so much power, and then I wanted to destroy their power because I gave to them. And instead, I can just be like, whatever. I'm happy. They can be them. I don't care. It's fine. And that worked really well. Another thing that worked really well, I'm doing like one dish a minute here, was breath, going into a sort of meditative state. Every fucking time that I came back and I was just sitting there, I'm like, I'm just gonna come back to center and be here and just breathe, like not in an intense way, just be here, watch, see what's going on, and breathe. Every fucking time I did that, something amazing happened. And I don't want to be like a woo-woo spiritual guy, but like I did that for like 2 seconds, like, and then they started playing Nika's Dream. I'm like, fuck, yes, that's great. I did it again. Dude invited me to the jam session. Like, wow, I feel like it's magic. I just want something magic to happen. And shit just goes well for me. And I don't know, is there $1 million in my fridge? No. Would be pretty cool though. Although I would probably let it go bad. Yeah, let's keep doing this. So that's fun. That's what's going on. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. Oh, another code mentor request. That's what I've been doing for work. It's a pretty nice gig. Yeah. I can just sit there, and in principle, I haven't been doing this. In principle, I can like practice piano, and when I hear a little like that, I just stop what I'm doing and go check if someone's asking a question I can help with, and then I can tutor them for a while, make $60, and then go back to practicing. And so I don't need to like go out and make something of myself or whatever, all that bullshit. It's just so hard, and I don't know what I would even do. So I can just hang out and do what I want to do, and then people are like, "Here, take my money in exchange for a service." And in fact, somebody just messaged me, I think. Oh yeah. 4:55. Yeah, somebody just said yes to my offer of a free trial appointment for long-term tutoring. So maybe a regular client, which would be great. Develop a relationship, have a little bit more stable income. Code Mentor's pretty cool. Don't take my stuff though. It's my domain. So cool. The trick my mom taught me. My mama, Susie, taught me. Get a bowl. And also, it wasn't clean. It was in there and not clean. I don't know about this topping, doing dishes thing. I think it's kind of inefficient. You just put some soap and hot water in a bowl. And you can use it as a dipper when you need to soap up your spongy substitute. La, 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 la. Thanks for being my friend. I just moved here. I don't have a lot of friends. Is that a message or a request? Node. I can probably do that one. So let's see, what else is going on? I maybe I'll spend a little bit more attention on the dishes because I don't want to be doing this all night. Having it fall down. I've been thinking about negative 1/12 again. The great Euler Ramanujan Riemann result. That the sum of all positive integers, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, is negative 1/12. What the fuck? And this result is used in string theory. Although string theory, as we know, is a bunch of bullshit, probably. So that's not surprising that we use a bullshit result in string theory. But like people, I don't mean disrespect. I'm sure string theorists are very smart people. It just feels like you a very popular theory, very popular physics theory that has no experimental results. It feels like you have a reason to believe that you might just be getting lost in a land of mathematical abstractions that don't mean anything. There's nothing to ground you, bring you back, make sure you're actually talking about the world instead of your idle fancies. Or fantasies, as it were. So, yeah. Anyway, negative 1/12. I'm fascinated by this result. It's amazing. The proof, Euler's proof, is very simple. Once you know sort of how it works, you can retrace the steps, and all you have to do is lift the restriction that sums have to converge in order to have a meaningful value, which is kind of a silly thing to do, but if you do it, you very reliably end on negative 1/12 for this result. There's no, and I haven't read this result personally, but Ramanujan and Hardy, I believe, proved that that's the only thing you could ever get. Like it might not be meaningful, but like if it is meaningful, that's the only meaningful answer it could be. There's some result like that. I don't know the details. Like I think they assume sort of what the summation sign could possibly mean, and they assume some very conservative properties, and then prove that that any other result would be contradictory or something like that. So that anyway, it's very fascinating to me, and I want to understand what it means. In particular, I'm interested in computing it. Like it's great to use these arguments to come up with negative 1/12, as the result of these things. Hang on. I'm asking this guy. He says he doesn't want to talk today, maybe tomorrow. I'm going to ask him. It's one of these, like, people don't set times for things. They just don't do them. And I'm trying to get money from this guy. I need him to actually show up tomorrow. Thanks for watching my live feed. I am amazed that you're watching. I'm amazed that in fact, nobody is watching right now, but maybe you'll watch in the future, and that would be really weird. Why would you do that? I'm just doing dishes. But I appreciate it if you are. Makes me feel a little less alone in this world. Putting the trash in here. Negative 1/12 is what I was talking about. Let's go back to this video thing. Negative 1/12. Yeah, it's fascinating. I love it. Oh yeah, computing. I want to compute it. It's great to be able to do these sort of strange arguments involving non-converging sums and other things to get negative 1/12. Like, wow, there's something magical about it. But what I want to know, is it possible, and in what sense might it be possible to have a computer come up with this, like you give it some description of the sequence, and it like converges in some sense, or whatever, what have you, onto negative 1/12. Like, is there because I'm a constructivist mathematically. I mean, the ist is kind of a strange word, but I use constructivism a lot. I think it's really a powerful reasoning tool. And constructivism says that essentially, if you can't compute it, it isn't real. Like, you might say that you have existential. Might say that there exists. You might have a proof. Let's say that there are infinitely many twin primes, and infinitely many twin primes. What that would mean, I mean, it depends on precisely how you phrase it, but one of the ways to phrase that is that given any number, there's a pair of twin primes above that number. So if I give you 4, you're like, oh, look, 11 and 13, or 5 and 7 is a twin prime. It doesn't have to be the next one. Just if you have any number, there's twin primes greater than that number. Now, let's say you had a proof, and you're like, I have a proof that there are infinitely many twin primes. That is substantial. And then you're like, okay, give me a twin prime greater than 10 to the 100. Just find me one. And if the proof is like, well, no, I've just proved that there are, I don't know how to find them, the constructivist perspective is like, that's not a proof. That's like maybe it's consistent that there are infinitely many, but there might still not actually be infinitely many of them if you don't know how to find them. It's a different statement to prove that it's in, for example, a constructivist phrasing of that, I have a proof that there are, but I don't know how to find them, would be, it's impossible that there's not infinitely many twin primes. It's a different statement than there are infinitely many. One of them gives you answers when you ask for them, and the other one just sort of waves its hands and pretends that, oh, you'll find it if you look for it. Although finding twin primes is not hard, but the proof would constitute assurance that if you kept looking, you would eventually find one. You wouldn't just keep looking off into the netherworlds. Sounds great. So the sum of all positive integers is equal to -12. Is there a constructive proof of that? In any sense of the word, can I give you some sort of computable representation of all the positive integers, and you can go through some process and say, oh, look, it's 112, such that maybe I could give you a different bunch of numbers, like all the squares, and you could also give me the answer to that. Perhaps. The trouble is, it's clearly not classically convergent the way a normal series is convergent. Because if you take classical convergence is like if you take larger and larger prefixes, it gets closer and closer to the result. That's not happening here. In fact, an arbitrary prefix of the sequence is going to be some big triangular number. And that's not anywhere near a 12 unless we put some strange p-adic metric or something, which I've been looking for, and it doesn't seem like you can. I mean, I have no proof of that, but I just haven't found one. There's no nice metric which allows large triangular numbers to be close to -112. And yeah, so in what sense are you converging? It seems like as not Ed Sheeran, Ed Copeland, the 60 Symbols guy with that lovable Irish accent. God, I love him. If I were gay, I'd be gay for him. Yeah, he said it's about the tails. The tails of the sequence is where all the magic happens, not the initial segments, but the final segments. The point where it goes and reaches infinity is where it wraps around. That's not computable. If I just gave you a computable function that gives you a number for each number you input, we don't know that that's even a total function. We don't know where that's going to go. That could give you all the normal numbers up to 10 to the 1,000, 10 to the 10 to the 100 or some giant number, and then start giving you 0, in which case you would get a very different answer. You get a giant triangular number instead of -112. And so there's something about the remainder of the sequence which is very important. I just don't know how to phrase that. Now, I read about this number theory thing, the Euler-Maclaurin, I believe, Euler-Maclaurin formula, which is Ramanujan's -112 result. And he basically, when you use the formula, it's about computing the sum of a sequence in terms of its sort of the continuous version of its function, the derivatives of the function. It's amazing that's even possible, but it is. And Ramanujan showed that one term involving the Bernoulli numbers, which I know nothing about, gives -112, and all the other terms are infinity. So if you sort of pretend those infinities are 0, then you get the -112th result. It's interesting, and Hardy made a correction to that, which I don't really understand. It seems to make it even worse. But and so maybe that's a way to compute it, because that does converge, I believe. That's a convergent that's a convergent term, and then you do get something real. So maybe if you use Ramanujan summation, you can get something computable, but it's just like over my head. I don't know enough number theory, and I get lost in the details. Anyway, what I'm thinking about, I started thinking about domain theory, because what if numbers are sort of domain ordered in some way, right? And so, because we have this thing where if you sum, like especially with divergent series, if you change the order of the series, you can get different results. It's the Riemann result, Riemann series theorem. or I first learned it as the Riemann rearrangement theorem. You can rearrange the series if it's not absolutely convergent to converge to anything, motherfucker. And that's strange. I mean, and so that you could interpret that like, well, those sums just aren't defined. You can get different answers depending on what order. Or there might be another explanation, which is like in domain theory, you have certain chains, and as the chains go off to infinity, look at this. As the chains go off to infinity, you can sort of take limits of them. Maybe the summation defines a chain of its intermediate results, and they'll go different places, and so it matters the order because you're using a different chain, and so the sum it's not undefined, it's just order dependent. In some sense, it matters which chain you pick. And maybe if you follow a chain up a particular series of naturals, you get to negative 1/12 somehow. I don't know how that works yet, but I'm thinking about like looking at numbers as trees. So if you think about 2, let's build natural numbers out of smaller ones. So if you look at 2, out of adding smaller ones, you do 1. 2 is 1 plus 1. Okay, great. And that's the only way you can get 2, really. Now, if you look at 3, there's 2 ways you can get 3. You can do 2 plus 1, that is 1 plus 1 plus 1, or 1 plus 2, 1 plus 1 plus 1. And there's those 2 ways. And then we call both of those things 3. And so in some sense, 3 has some hidden information that it's elided. And maybe that means something. Maybe you can do something with that. The amount of information that a number is elided is related to the Catalan numbers I just discovered yesterday, which grow asymptotically, eventually like 2 to the n, which means that, or 2 to the 2n, I believe. And so that means the amount of information in a number that's hidden by a number is approximately, by a number n, is approximately 2n bits. It's a lot of information. Tons of information per number. Anyway, if you're adding up all the numbers, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, let's say you get 4, or let's say you get 6, right? 1 plus 2 plus 3. Now there's a bunch of ways to make 6, but in this sum, we added something to 3, right? 3 plus 3 is 6. Because 3 was the previous term, 1 plus 2 is 3. And so the possibility that we made 6 out of 2 plus 4 is gone. We didn't. It's not made out of 2 plus 4. So there's less, the 6 we get is a less informative 6 than a generic 6. A generic 6 includes it's less, but asymptotically. If 6 were infinity, it would include about 12 bits of information, but it doesn't. It's less. But the 6 that we got, summing up with this sum, is yet, we know more about it than that. It's just 6. We know I think that's a good way to put it. It's more than 6, or it's 6 plus some extra information. It's 6, and we made it out of 3 plus something. But which 3? Well, that 3 is 1 plus 2, or is it 2 plus 1? Did the order matter? These are tough questions. But I'm thinking, if you quantify the information lost at each step and the information gained, and you could get, I don't know what you get. You get some stuff that's maybe interesting or maybe not. I don't know. But like maybe there's something about trees and negative 12th. I'm thinking about that. And it'd be fun. I love this exotic stuff in math. I love non-standard naturals. stuff like that. Non-standard naturals, non-standard models, incompleteness theorem, all of sort of magical. Like what the fuck? How is that possible? Banach-Tarski. I don't love Banach-Tarski, but it's an example of the kind of thing I would love. Maybe if I were more into geometry. I'm just not a geometry guy. Oh man, that was a long session, probably because of all the fucking talking. I've been talking for 35 minutes, and I'm sure you guys are just hanging on the edge of your seat. You guys, I guess 0 is technically plural, and male, I suppose. 0 is male because men suck there. And you get the feminists what they want. Bitches. All right. Good. I think that's a good note to end on. Make enemies with all the feminists. But they're not going to watch me anyway because, I didn't talk about intersectional theory or anything like that. Man, I have so much resentment for my ex-girlfriend. Fucking feminists, man. Anyway. Yeah. That's Luke. Bye-bye.